Ever wondered how to find your way out when lost in the woods? Or do you enjoy the thrill of the unknown, the rustling leaves whispering tales of your impending doom? Welcome to the labyrinth of nature, where the trees stand tall like ancient sentinels, their branches casting a dense web of shadows, and the ground is carpeted with fallen leaves. Here, the sun plays hide and seek with you, peeking through the foliage ever so often. But don't be fooled by its playful demeanor. It's your most reliable compass. When you're disoriented, look for the sun. It rises in the east and sets in the west, a consistent celestial guide. And what about the trees? You might think they're just standing there minding their own business, but they're actually trying to tell you something. Have you ever noticed how moss tends to grow on the north side of the tree? That's because moss likes it cool and shady, just like your introverted friend who refuses to leave their room. So remember, when you're lost and alone, look for the mossy side of the tree. It's the next best thing to a neon sign saying, "This way to civilization." Now, you might be wondering, why would I ever want to get lost in the woods? Well, let's be honest. Haven't we all had those days when we'd rather face a hungry bear than another holiday dinner with the in-laws? I mean, at least the bear is honest about wanting to eat you alive, but in all seriousness, getting lost in the woods can be a terrifying experience. There's something about the silence, the sense of isolation, that can make the bravest of us quiver. However, with the right know-how, you can turn your ordeal into a tale of survival, a testament to your resilience. So if you're lucky, you might just find your way back to civilization. If not, well, at least you won't have to worry about paying taxes anymore. Now let's move on to something chillier, the tundra. It's like a never-ending snow globe. Except the snowman might be you if you don't navigate right. The tundra, ladies and gents, is a white expanse of frosty nothingness that can stretch as far as your eye can see. It's the perfect place to test your survival skills, or lack thereof. One thing's for sure, though, you won't be complaining about the heat out here. First things first, don't trust your instincts to lead the way. They might tell you to follow the polar bears, but unless you're looking for a one-way trip to the afterlife, that's not the best idea. Instead, let's focus on some reliable techniques. Wind patterns can be your best friend in the tundra. Winds in these regions often blow from the same direction, so once you've figured out which way the wind is blowing, you've got yourself a compass. Just make sure you're not heading deeper into the tundra. Now, if the wind isn't blowing or if it's too erratic, don't despair. We still have the stars. The night sky in the tundra is often clear, making it ideal for star navigation. The North Star, or Polaris, is your guiding light here. It's the brightest star in the Ursa Minor constellation, and it's always in the northern sky. So if you can locate Polaris, you've found north. Of course, these techniques require a certain level of skill and patience, so if you're planning a trip to the tundra, better start practicing, or you could just freeze to death. On the bright side, you'd be naturally mummified, preserving your good looks for eternity. That could be a win, right? You'd be the most handsome popsicle in the tundra. But on a serious note, folks, the tundra is no joke. It's a harsh environment that demands respect and preparation. Learn your survival skills, pack the right gear, and remember, the only good kind of ice is in a glass of bourbon. But hey, if you don't make it, at least you'll be the coolest corpse in the cemetery. What's more terrifying than being lost at sea? Maybe realizing you forgot your sunscreen. Now folks, that's a burn you won't forget. But let's focus on the task at hand, shall we? You're bobbing like a cork in the big blue. So let's talk about how you can navigate your way out of this salty mess. First things first, you've got to keep your eyes peeled. No, not for sharks, though that wouldn't hurt either, but for the clouds. Clouds can be a sailor's best friend or worst enemy, depending on how you look at it. A buildup of cumulus clouds might mean land is near, but remember, where there are clouds, there's often rain. And rain at sea is about as much fun as a root canal. Next up, the waves. No, we're not talking about the kind you ride with a surfboard. Waves can tell you a lot about the ocean's currents and wind direction. And if you're lucky enough to have a little driftwood or seaweed around, you can use these natural floaters to gauge the direction of the current. Now, if you're out there when the sun goes down, don't panic. The night sky is a mariner's map, and the North Star is your trusty compass. But let's face it, if you're relying on the stars to get you home, you're probably in deeper water than you thought. And hey, you might even spot a mermaid out there, but don't get your hopes up. She'll probably leave you faster than a seagull snatching a French fry, especially when she realizes you can't remember directions. So there you have it, folks. The sky, the waves, and even the mermaids are all part of your survival toolkit, when you're adrift at sea. Who knows? If you float around long enough, you might just bump into a deserted island. If not, at least you'll give a shark a nice dinner. Modern problems require modern solutions, right? Unless your phone dies, then you're back to square one. Now, in this world of technological marvel, we've got some nifty gadgets at our disposal. GPS, for instance, is a godsend. With satellites orbiting high above, guiding us mere mortals below, it's like having a bird's eye view of the world in the palm of your hand. But what happens when your battery is as dead as a doorknob and you're stuck in the middle of nowhere? Well, let's just say you might want to have paid attention in your Boy Scouts or Girl Guides orientation class. Then there are these handy-dandy compass apps. You know, the ones that come pre-installed in most smartphones. They're great when you need to find your way around an unfamiliar city. But in the wilderness, they might just leave you going around in circles like a dog chasing its tail. And let's not forget Google Maps. Oh, Google Maps. The tool that can guide you from your couch to the fridge without any hiccups. But out in the wild, let's just say, it's not as reliable. In fact, with Google Maps, some folks couldn't find their way out of a paper bag, let alone a dense forest or vast tundra. And don't even get me started on the ocean. The last time I checked, Google Maps doesn't include a feature for shark avoidance yet. But hey, don't get me wrong. These tools are brilliant for everyday navigation, but when it comes to survival situations, they're about as useful as a chocolate teapot. So folks, the moral of the story here is, don't rely solely on your gadgets. Learn the old school ways, the ancient methods of navigation. You know, like using the stars or moss on trees, or watching which way the birds are flying. Remember, technology is only as smart as the person using it. If all else fails, Siri might just suggest you to stop getting lost. So, there you have it, folks. Your quick and dirty guide to not dying horribly while lost. We've traipsed through the dense forest, shivered in the biting cold of the tundra, and bobbed precariously on the open ocean. All in a day's work, or as we like to call it, avoiding an early rendezvous with the Grim Reaper. Let's jog that memory a bit, shall we? In the woods, remember to keep an eye on the moss. It's not just for making your Instagram snaps look artsy, it could be your neon sign to civilization. And in the tundra, where your biggest threat is becoming a popsicle, the stars are your best friends. They're not just pretty twinkling lights in the sky, but a celestial GPS guiding you home. Then there's the ocean. Oh, the ocean. The place where north, south, east, and west decided to play a round of hide and seek. But fear not, the sun and the moon aren't just there for suntans and romantic walks. They're your compass when the Earth's magnetic field decides to take a break. Now, you might be thinking, why bother with all this survival nonsense? Isn't death just life's way of telling you to slow down? Well, sure, if your idea of slowing down is becoming plant fertilizer or fish food, be my guest. But if you'd like to keep breathing and experiencing the thrill of near-death experiences, then it might be wise to pay attention. And hey, let's not forget our modern tools for these ancient problems. Because nothing says, I'm a 21st century survivalist like navigating a remote wilderness with your smartphone or GPS watch. Just remember to charge those batteries, folks. The only thing worse than being lost is being lost with a dead phone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Or we're not your mom. But if you're lost right now, it might be your only chance of survival.